You were inside the concert?
Yeah, we're vendors with a concert. We have a product booth inside.
Obviously, it was a 3-day festival. It had been going really well. It was at the very end. You were in your booth?
Yeah, Jason Aldean was playing, and we were in our booth, and we thought it was fireworks. And then it just didn't stop. And I'm like, Debbie, that's not fireworks. And then people started running, and we asked what was going on, and they said it was a shooter, and then we realized it sounded like machine guns. It sounded like more than one machine gun.
Okay, so this is something that I just came across. I thought I watched all of David Newton's body cam, but apparently I missed part of it. So we're getting ready to listen to either a security or an LVMPD, I believe it's security, refer to Campos in a derogatory way. I believe he says, "Effing Campos sucks." You can listen for yourself. And they're also going to talk about a shooter on the 29th floor. I repeat, a shooter on the 29th floor. Take a watch and a listen.
So yeah, this is the view that the floor above us has. Exact same rooms, exact same layout. So, yeah, so the fairgrounds are right beneath us. I don't know what kind of gun is needed to break this glass, but
anything, any handgun will break it.
Oh, there you go. And in all honesty, from the sound, I can pretty much tell you 5.56 or above. Not bad. Fucking Campos sucks.
So we're almost positive nothing on the 29th floor?
I'm pretty sure somebody was on 29 that dropped down, because somebody was calling out shooting on 29, and then we were watching the stairwell and it looked like someone came up down 28.
Oh.
But I couldn't get over the radio. Alright, Dave, tell you.
So Thejellygaming, welcome to the show. And when did you become interested in things like the Route 91 Harvest Festival shootings?
I mean, I don't really remember when it happened, but I really, so the one that got me into it happened about a year ago, or something like that. I don't remember exactly. I don't remember the exact name, but it was the, pretty much the bombing that happened at the Ariana Grande concert, which pretty much got me into this stuff.
Anyway, so earlier this week you talked about the famous Zodiac killer case. What do you know about that?
Pretty much, if my memory doesn't deceive me right now, the Zodiac was a serial killer in the 70s and 80s, and he was never caught, which made him popular. And pretty much, if I remember correctly, he was confirmed of 7 murders, but allegedly he, he had this little thing he did where he would send, after every murder, he would send a encrypted note to the news and police department, and there were actually 36 or 32 notes saying he killed someone, but only 6 or 7 murders were actually confirmed.
Interesting how he left encoded messages or cryptograms indicating knowledge in cryptology. And who uses cryptology?
Government officials and other law agents.
That's correct. Intelligence agencies, especially military intelligence, use cryptography. Did I say cryptology before? I meant cryptography. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Another thing about the Zodiac, his actual age wasn't confirmed, but he had a one witness who gave a police sketch. He was, I don't remember the exact height right now. It's been a while since I investigated that, but he was around his 30s and 40s. He was he was tall, very tall. I don't remember the exact height. And he wore glasses. And there was a police sketch which you can find by doing a Wikipedia search or comparing other sources. The witness actually gave the sketch, but funny enough, if I remember correctly, the witness went missing a few days after she came out with that knowledge.
Oh, wow.
You there?
Yeah, I was just getting some water. Okay, so an example is the Golden State Killer, who they caught this past year, who was an ex-cop, and who has two, possibly three similarities with the Zodiac Killer. Those similarities are the 70s, so both were active in the 70s. Both were reportedly active in the 70s. And the area of California is the second similarity. The possible third being that the Golden State Killer was ex-law enforcement, and the Zodiac Killer displayed knowledge into cryptography with his famous cryptograms. Okay, so we're going to switch gears now, and we're going to switch over to this letter. This past week I got a comment from One Hawk Sober, and included a link to some information that was dug up by Laura Loomer. So Laura Loomer actually came up with this letter, and you can see the letter. I gave you a copy of the letter, correct? Thejellygaming. Did I give you a copy in Discord?
Yes, you did. That is correct. I have my eyes on the letter right now.
So they're claiming that this is a letter from Stephen Paddock, and it's not at all a letter. It's very much a note, just a note. And it appears to be calculations. The problem that I have with this is Paddock had no military or gun background, no criminal record.
One thing, you didn't explain to them what the calculations were for. So pretty much this is calculations and math that only a sniper would know how to use. These are calculations of a sniper, a military sniper, for as you can see on officer screen. It has collision calculations and trajectory calculations. So that's pretty much like math that pretty much only an ex-military or a military sniper personnel will know how to use.
I agree. This is a note a gun expert like a military sniper might create, but not a guy with no military or gun background and no criminal record. So I totally agree with you on that.
I had one question that I kind of raised while we were talking about this. Did Paddock have a con permit?
To the best of my knowledge, the only thing that we found that he had was a fishing license that actually lists interestingly, it lists his height and his description as being different than the person that they found dead at the crime scene. What I'd like to find out is if this writing is even the same handwriting as Paddock's.
Interestingly, maybe we have the thing that could fix this if Paddock was maybe had like a blog or something. We could see a letter wrote by him, maybe on his Twitter, his I don't know, Facebook, whatever he used. Maybe there's some kind of hints of him like writing a letter and taking a picture of it, so we could like compare.
So we're going to switch gears now to the Mandalay Bay doesn't release building surveillance footage to support the official narrative, claiming the only surveillance cameras are in the lobby and casino areas. And I'm going to show now just a couple of minutes of a video where they have these cameras.
So for anyone who doesn't know, these are called 360 cameras. They pretty much look like little light bulbs, but like and have this little black thing coming out of them. In that black thing is a little micro camera which turns 360, so it surveillances the whole hallway around it. And we have confirmed that in the video is a camera. We have pretty good footage of it, and that couldn't have been like a light or anything. It's clear that is a 360 camera in the footage.
Now we're going to switch gears to one person hammers out 2 windows but doesn't remove curtain. At least that's what they would have us believe. So that means they use X-ray vision to shoot through the curtains, they claim, as the reason why we don't see muzzle flash. So they're saying that the curtains being up are why we don't see muzzle flash. And my question is, how can a person see through those curtains to shoot the crowd? Apparently, Stephen Paddock was a time traveler, because the autopsy says that he died October 2nd, the next day at 12 noon. So that means he was a time traveler. Yeah. So back to what I was saying, they would have us believe that Stephen Paddock was a time traveler who had X-ray vision and the ability to teleport. He uses the X-ray vision to see through the curtains.
I mean, the X-ray vision could have been explained by thermal goggles, but unless he was an ex-military personnel, I don't think he would have had access to thermal goggles.
Explain his ability to see through the curtains to shoot the crowd, and it just defies logic. Why would somebody hammer out windows and leave the curtains up? Why not remove the curtains so you can at least see what...
The thing I kind of think about this is he might have thought he might get away with it and cover the curtain, shoot, and try to escape. But what I think could have happened is the actual shooter could have been a military personnel, seeing as he could somehow see through the curtains, which would point to maybe him having thermal goggles. And he did have a lot of weapons that day. If you want to show the people the list of weapons, he did have seriously a lot of weapons with him. And my theory is he could have been a military personnel. His partner who was with him, who has not been identified but probably was there, could have shot him, escaped, and the police have tried to cover it up to not...
Okay, and then they would also have us believe that he had the ability to teleport.
And to try and travel, that would actually explain it too, since if that was the case and they were trying to... they probably would have just found another body that died the next day, or that pretty much someone that has died and that looked like him, or killed someone that looked like him and replaced him, not to rise any bad light to the military or law enforcement, because otherwise how would he have had so much gun access and access to possibly thermal goggles, unless he was a ex-military personnel or a military personnel.
According to the official narrative, a single shooter was going back and forth between 2 rooms, shooting out of 2 windows, and they claim that they had to breach the door, the adjoining door to 134 and 135, which means that he would have had the ability to teleport back and forth. So they would have us believe that he magically teleported back and forth, shooting through those 2 windows. Otherwise, how was he able to go back and forth through the locked door that they claim they had to breach?
It might have been bad luck, but it's probably not, seeing as there's so many flaws in the story. Pretty much the shooter either was a magician or a superhero or something, or they faked a lot of the story. That's the 2 options we have. Nothing else could have happened.
I agree there. And there's nothing worse than blaming something on someone without evidence to back it up. Next, we will talk about the two things law enforcement fail to do that are normally done in any shooting investigation.
Another thing I like to point out is if my theory is correct, that's really fucked up how they just killed a lookalike to cover up a military personnel shooting by a possible military personnel. So, because that's the only way that he could have done it. Either, like, had the person, like, had him be covered in, like, fake blood and, like, acts, or actually kill him. So, that's, like, kind of, sorry for my bad language, but that is effed up, honestly.
And thanks for that. I definitely agree. So the first thing they failed to do was a GSR test, also known as a gunshot residue test, conducted on the suspect by testing their clothing and hands or gloves if they were wearing gloves. This test is 100% reliable and is done automatically during any shooting investigation. Well, they didn't do a GSR test on the alleged suspect. They killed at the staged crime scene. And last, they normally match the ballistics to the suspect to prove they're guilty. This is done by matching bullets and bullet fragments to the weapons.
Ballistic test, pretty much, which means they pretty much analyze the bullets that were shot out of the alleged gun and try to match the bullets be shot out of the gun.
Correct. And bullets and bullet fragments were removed from more than 40 of the victims, yet they were never matched to the weapons placed at the staged crime scene. Thejellygaming, what a great guest you have been. Is there anything else that you wanted to add?
I'd actually like to talk about the fourth point, which is actually, for me, one of the most interesting points before we wrap it up.
Okay.
So, as probably anyone who has touched on this topic knows, there was a woman in her mid-20s, reported by the witnesses, who came into the concert about an hour before the shooting, or a half an hour, I don't remember exactly, saying to random people that they're gonna die tonight. As we know, there probably was a partner, and we don't know about anything about the partner, so maybe the partner was the woman trying to warn the crowd. Maybe the woman was forced to do it. Maybe the woman was a wife or associated with the man that the main shooter. Maybe she was forced to do it, and maybe she was trying to warn the crowd.
Thank you for bringing that up. You know, I'm looking at my notes here, and I meant to add that in, and I totally forgot. So thank you for bringing that up.
And it kind of makes sense. Like, maybe she didn't want to do it, but because she was associated with the main shooter, she was kind of scared of him, which made her kind of secretly slip into the crowd and warn people to just go away and get away before it's late.
And at the beginning of this video, I actually show a clip of an eyewitness who saw this woman running through the crowd. Thejellygaming, I haven't had a chance to share that with you, but when you watch this back after it's released on YouTube, you can watch that clip of the witness. And the witness says, according to this witness, who actually was at the venue and saw the person run through the crowd warning people, it was actually two people. It was a female and supposedly a male that was accompanying her, but the female was doing most of the warning. And according to the witness, the female that was doing most of the warning people they were going to get shot and die, was actually escorted away from either security or law enforcement. That part is very vague, and then we don't get the backstory to this. We don't get the interesting thing is if the person was escorted away by either security or police, Why didn't we get the backstory to that? Why didn't we get, because they don't just escort somebody away. They ID the person, ask them for their ID. And so we had a special guest today. It was Thejellygaming. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, Thejellygaming, I will leave a link in the description.
My pleasure.
I will leave a link in the description for Thejellygaming's channel. I know he would appreciate any likes, views, and especially new subscribers.